All generator fuels are susceptible to contamination or degradation. If your fuel goes bad, your generator just won't work. In this article, I explain some of the basic issues about how to keep your fuel clean and satisfy code requirements. NFPA 110, the 2010 edition, requires annual fuel tests. All information expressed by Standby Power Solutions, LLC, or its officers, is strictly the opinion of Standby Power Solutions, LLC. There are three commonly used emergency generator fuels: diesel fuel, natural gas, or liquid petroleum gas. In order to keep your generator running reliably, it has to have good fuel. The fuel should be tested annually according to Fire Code, specifically NFPA 110, Chapter 8.3.8. The three fuels I mentioned are tested in different ways, but all must use ASTM test procedures. That means you have to take a sample and send it to a qualified laboratory. On the following pages, I will recommend testing procedures for diesel. According to NFPA 110, LPG and natural gas must also be tested. However, those tests are difficult and costly. Most authorities will not require testing unless a specific concern arises. If you are required to test a gas fuel, contact me at paul@standbypowersolutions.com. I can provide further information. The lab I use can handle it. I can put you in touch with them. Diesel fuel may be adulterated in many ways. In our experience, three things are most common. Water contamination. You can see the water goes to the bottom of the fuel because water is heavier than diesel fuel. Particulate contamination, and that's generally rust, dirt, or microbes. And then microbial contamination. That's kind of a nasty mess that develops only if water is present in the fuel. Because no specific ASTM test is mentioned in NFPA, and there are a great many expensive tests that can be made, I recommend just these three. They are the least expensive, meet the code standard, and look for the most likely problems. There is, however, a fourth issue that sometimes happens but is unlikely, and that is chemical contamination. I wouldn't worry with this unless you have some reason to suspect it. Diesel fuel is a great solvent. Almost any petroleum-based chemical will mix with it. I have seen herbicide, transformer oil, used engine oil, paint thinner, old burner oil, and crude oil poured into diesel storage tanks just to get rid of it. Also, some have the idea that diesel fuel can be improved by adding gasoline. That's a bad idea. If you think your fuel may have been contaminated, contact me at paul@standbypowersolutions.com. I can provide further information. Here are just some of my notes from 40+ years of experience. Water contamination seldom comes from condensation. If your tank is above ground, make sure it is sealed at all openings, like the fill cap or gauge. A broken gauge can let in a lot of rainwater. Underground tanks are the worst. Water comes in through the ground level fill opening. If there are any cracks in the tank, groundwater from the water table will enter the tank. Rust and dirt come from rusty old tanks or gas cans used to fill the tank. When used motor oil is mixed with diesel fuel, particulate matter from the oil comes in with it and can clog your fuel filter. Microbes need water to develop. If you have a dry above ground tank, you are unlikely to develop microbes. However, if you test positive for microbes, look to your fuel supplier. All information expressed by Standby Power Solutions, LLC, or its officers is strictly the opinion of Standby Power Solutions, LLC. Standby Power Solutions, LLC disclaims any liability for any personal injury, property, or other damages of any nature whatsoever, whether special, indirect, consequential, or compensatory, directly or indirectly resulting from the publication, use of, or reliance on this website or any information derived thereof. Standby Power Solutions, LLC, also makes no guarantee or warranty as to the accuracy or completeness of any information contained herein. Anyone using this website should rely on his or her own independent judgment, or, as appropriate, seek the advice of a competent professional in determining the exercise of reasonable care in any given circumstance. All rights reserved. Do not reproduce without express written permission.